Hey, what's going on, DDO players? Axel here. In this video, I'll be talking about what I believe are the top 5 most underrated adventure packs in DDO. And while rating these packs, I'm not doing it by two of the biggest reasons people run content, which is XP and loot. What I'm talking about in this video is going to be 5 packs that are very well designed and are a lot of fun. I'm not necessarily talking about min-maxing, XP runs, things like that, or even loot. These are just 5 great packs that I believe were well designed and should be run more, and tend to not be by the community. I wanted to originally, when I was creating this video, get gameplay footage from each of these packs, or maybe some screenshots, but that was going to take a little bit more time than I wanted to invest in this video, so you'll have to settle for watching me run a little Demon Queen here on the gameplay footage. So let's start with number 5, which I picked to be the attack on Stormreach chain, and I'm referring both to the free-to-play chain and the paid chain. I put this on the list because of how fun and well designed many of these quests are. The standout quests from a design standpoint, I believe, are Framework, Blockade Buster, and Undermine. Let's talk about Framework for a minute. Framework just has an awesome feel to it. The music's cool, the theme is cool, and it's one of the very few quests in the game where you actually get to assault and take over an enemy castle. You see this kind of theme, this sort of adventure in so many movies and lore. It's just so cool to actually lead, you and your band of friends and actually take over a castle of minotaurs. It's just a very thematically cool quest, has an awesome feel to it. Blockade Buster has a neat stealth objective, and it's one of the few quests where stealth is not only viable, but it's the preferable alternative to completing the quests. There's not very many quests in game you can just sneak through like that. Yeah, you can invis Zerg through quests, but I'm talking about quests that were designed specifically for a stealth objective, rather than going through them by brute force, which is what we see in 90% plus of quests. And then we have Undermine, which I think is the other standout quest in this chain, and it's just flat out fun. There's suicide bomber kobolds, there's stuff you blow up with explosives, there's a nicely designed jumping portion, and even a little Indiana Jones style boulder you have to run out of the way of. So just a very cool quest, just a lot of fun. It's too bad the mark drops for the paid Attack on Stormreach chain are really low, in my opinion, way too low. Back in the day, I tried to farm out marks with some gear, but I gave up because after running the quest, the chain, more times than I can remember, I could not get the marks I was looking for. But this quest chain as a whole, both the paid and the free-to-play quests, are just fun and definitely worth running for XP alone. The XP from all these quests is good. And there's even some good gear here. The Stone Dust Wraps are still really good for monks at the level range, and so is the Blade of Fury, which is a great weapon option if you're on a first life character, or you're on a second or third life character that has not crafted some twink gear like green steel weapons. And when I run through this chain, I still use the Gorgon armor when I'm in the level range. It's really nice for boosting your survivability. It has Con +4 on it, which is nice for that level range, helps you save an extra gear slot. And the Stone Skin Guard on it really helps your survivability. Let's move now onto the number 4 pick on my list, and that's Three Barrel Cove. The main reason I put Three Barrel Cove on this list is because of the beautiful adventure area. This is, in my opinion, the number 2 prettiest adventure area, losing out only to a pack, which I'll talk about in a minute, that's higher on this list. But especially if you crank up the settings here for Three Barrel Cove, it's really pretty, and it's just so different. Most of the game is really dark and macabre, but Three Barrel Cove presents a group of quests and an adventure area that's bright and sunny. It's a nice change of pace. And Three Barrel Cove, to me, I always ran it in heroics when I could, and in epics I still like running it. It's just a nice change. Nice change of pace. It feels fresh to me. because it's so sunny and bright and it's lighthearted. It's a nice break from all these dark, serious type quests, dark, macabre quests. There's even some great loot here in Epic Through Burl Cove in particular. The iron mitts are great, and you can even get them from looting the rare chests in the adventure area. The capstone quest in the Epic pack is different. A lot of people don't like it, but I think I appreciate what the developers are trying to do, and I think it's creative. The airship mechanic, firing at airships and fighting in the air, I do think it's worth giving them kudos for, just because of the creativity. Whether you think it's implemented well or not is kind of a personal opinion, but hey, it's different. It didn't break anything. It's fine. It's just in a few quests. If you don't like it, you don't have to run it, but it's creative, it's different, and that's why I like it. Let's move on to my number 3 pick, which is Sorodusk Isle, and I've always had a soft spot for this quest chain. And while this is an older pack and the graphics aren't the best, in my opinion, it's one of the best storylines in DDO, and it's one of the very few storylines that I just really fell in love with when I go through these quests. I always run Sorodusk at least once if I'm heroic TRing and I go through that level range. Now, what some people hate about this quest chain is all the running back and forth to quests, but me personally, I find that very immersive and appropriate to the storyline. The Slayer area is, while not as pretty as Three Barrel Cove, also has that island feel, and it's large and it's fun to explore. There's a lot of hidden nooks and crannies to find, and the XP is even pretty good in the adventure area if you have a lot of friends with you. Overall, for the quest, no, the XP and loot aren't the best, but this is one pack I feel is great for casual players. If you haven't run this before, it's a blast to grab friends and explore everything this island has to offer. There's so many hours of entertainment here, and it's a quest pack. Just relax, grab a drink, hang with some friends, and run this. Just read the storylines. This is one of the this is one of the quest packs I think is important to read the storyline and really get into it. If you get into the storyline, it can help you really enjoy this pack, and it can help you get past that opinion of, hey, I hate all this running back and forth to quests. If you really read the storyline and you get into it, it does feel immersive, and that's what I like about it. Let's move on to my number 2 pick, which is the Stormhorns. This is the quest chain I was referencing earlier that has, in my opinion, the most beautiful adventure area in the game. And that's one of the main reasons I put this pack so high, is just how wonderfully designed the adventure area is. It's huge, it's gigantic, there's a wide variety of enemies and locations, there's a lot of stuff to find, there's so many nooks and crannies. I mean, you could spend nights and nights and nights exploring everything the Stormhorns has to offer. And the XP in the Slayer area is pretty good if you have, like I said, friends with you. The quest What Goes Up, which is the capstone, the last quest in this chain, was considered by many the best quest in the game until the Haunted Halls of Evening Star was put into DDO. And this is because What Goes Up just feels epic. It's a long quest, but the storyline is great, and when you go through it, it has many different phases, and it makes you really feel like you've gone on an adventure. Some quests, a lot of quests in DDO fall flat, but when you go through What Goes Up, it really feels like you have gone through an adventure. It really feels like it's just so immersive. I can't stress it enough. It's just so immersive. It really feels like an adventure. Now, this pack used to be the most challenging content in DDO, and now with a lot of the power creep we've seen, it's not quite as hard as it's been in the past, but it still can be hard for some groups. And that leads me to my number 1 pick, and this is a adventure pack I've always had a soft spot for, even more so than Sorodusk perhaps, and that's Reaver's Reach. And this is a quest pack that is so rarely run. I think one of the reasons for that is Reaver's Reach falls in that level range where there's so many other quests, there's a lot of other XP, so people don't really bother to go to Reaver's Reach because there's a lot more easily accessible packs out there, like the Inspired Quarter, even Amrath, maybe even the Veil. There's a lot of stuff there competing with Reaver's Reach. This is why I don't think it's run that much. And it is a more difficult pack. These are difficult quests at level. One of the cool things about Reaver's Reach is there are 3 different adventure areas. Now there are 3 lot smaller adventure areas, but there are 3 different adventure areas with different themes. There's a ice themed adventure area, there's a volcano themed adventure area, and there is a graveyard themed adventure area. And they're all worth exploring, and they're very thematic. And this actually contains the only ice themed adventure area in the game, unless you include perhaps the Stormhorns, the upper parts. The reason I put this at number 1 is because all 4 quests in this chain are exceptionally well designed. I can't stress this enough. These quests are so well thought out. They aren't simply a DPS Zergfest. They are complicated quests, and that's one of the reasons people don't like to run this, because they are complicated quests. They require that your party is organized and that you think a little bit. They're very challenging at level, and like I said, you have to stay organized as a party to get through some of these. Prey on the Hunter has a maze. You have to learn the maze. You have to think a little bit. If you haven't been to that maze before, it can take a little while to figure out. You have to stick together. You also have to get through that maze in time so that you don't fail the boss fight at the end, because there's a dragon. Well, I don't want to, actually, what am I talking about spoiling it for you guys? This is a very old adventure pack. But at the end, there's a dragon where if it dies, you can fail. And the end fight does require party coordination, because you want to make sure that you have a level of DPS. You want to make sure you're DPSing the right dragons. So there is a little element there of party coordination. Enter the Kobold is another quest in this pack. It has a very challenging end fight that also requires party coordination. If you're running that at level on Elite, you can't just run in there most of the time. And maybe if you're a stud, you can, but most groups aren't going to be able to just run in there. You need to use some strategy. You need to hold back. You need to perhaps have a healer, perhaps have someone tank the boss. It's just a very difficult infight, one of the hardest at level. We also have the quest Monastery of the Scorpion, which has some very creative traps and a great puzzle to it. Some very unique puzzles, in fact. You back in the day, you needed a monk or someone with good evasion to get through to allow you to get through to the end fight. We also have the end quest Stealer of Souls, which was supposed to be a raid, actually, according to some things I've read, but it turned out to be a regular quest. But it feels a little bit like a raid because it was intended to be a raid. And it has a great boss fight. You fight a giant, sort of similar to what you see in Tempest Spine. But Reaver's Reach, I also find this extremely immersive. The Adventure pack takes place underwater. You have to actually swim down. You jump off a ship, swim to the bottom of the ocean to actually get into Reaver's Reach. It's just very cool. It has a nice storyline as well. It's one pack I really hope they epic someday, because I think these quests are very much in need of epic. They're already difficult quests, so if they make these level 30 cap quests, I can see them being very difficult. You have to fight. You have the killer infight and Enter the Kobold. You have giants everywhere, which have really high fort saves. So stuff like Finger of Death is going to be difficult. And also they have they can tend to hit hard and have a lot of HP, which seems to be a theme, something that fits in epics these days. The XP in Reaver's Reach is actually really good as well. Now, depending on how good your party is, of course, these are difficult quests. If your party can't get through them or gets through them very slow, the XP per minute might not be so good for you, but in general, the XP is good. One of the bad things, though, is the appeal for this pack, which is the crafting system for Dragon Touched Armor, is outclassed by a lot of stuff you can get at even earlier levels, like the Giant Hole Dragon Scale Armor, but it's still okay if you're a First Life character and you're running that chain. While it's hard to get the specific rune that you want, if you just run through the quest a couple times, there is a trading option. You probably will get a decent set out of it, and I think you can get a basic set of Dragon Touched Armor, even if it's not all the runes you want, for not too much effort, certainly less effort than it would take to farm all the dragon scales out of Giant Hole Tour for your black dragon scale or white dragon scale armor. So again, I really want to see Reavers reach epic someday, and I couldn't recommend this enough for you to grab some friends and check out this adventure pack. So guys, what do you think is the most underrated adventure pack in DDO? Leave me a comment below and let me know. As always, please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time.